Ronnetta, how many days a week do you work, or how, I guess, when you work is when your practice is open, probably, yeah?
Yeah, so we work 4 days a week.
My day off is Wednesday, so I only work 4 days a week. The perks of dentistry. Join Doctors Savanah Craig and Ronnetta Sartor as we navigate life beyond graduation. Real conversations about forging our own paths in our early years in our careers. There's a reason it's called practicing dentistry. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond Graduation. I am Savanah Craig.
And I'm Ronnetta Sartor.
This week, we thought we would give a little peek inside our day-to-day lives, the schedules of our week, what our office work hours are, all of those things. Because when I was in dental school and you're just grinding 5 days a week, sometimes on weekends, you wonder what will work-life balance or my schedule look like when I'm out of here. So we thought we would share what that looks like, because I think we both have similar but probably a little different schedules. So Ronnetta, how many days a week do you work, or how, I guess, when you work is when your practice is open, probably, yeah?
Yeah, so we work 4 days a week. We are open Monday through Thursday from 8 to 5. When I first purchased the office, we did Tuesdays until 6.
Mm-hmm.
I am an early riser, so by a certain time of the day, my brain does not process. And for that duration of time when we worked until 6 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, it was like my brain would shut off. So I was like, we have to change this. It's not going to be good for anyone.
Did you get pushback from your team or your patients or anything?
From the team, because I think part of why that Tuesday was a late day is so that some patients would not have to take off to come and have their teeth cleaned or work done. My thought process was that the truth of the matter is, if it was a day that not only, or a time that not only I didn't want to be there, but the team didn't want to be there too, we still weren't doing our patients a good service. So it would be much better to have them come during hours where we could be our best for them. But it was more so, the assistants advocating for the patients.
Yeah. I like that perspective, though.
And hygienists, assistants and hygienists.
Yeah. I like that perspective.
And then Fridays, for the most part, are like my volunteer days or travel days if I'm going anywhere. But consistently, it's the days when I do most of my administrative work as it pertains to the office, and work on the office instead of working in the office to help with growing it and all that. And then we take lunch 12 to 1, but Monday through Thursday, most of the time I take meetings during that time to kind of free up time on Friday. It used to be that I would work Friday the same hours doing administrative stuff in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I realized very quickly that that wouldn't last long, and I wouldn't last long doing that. So I try to be done by 12.
Nice.
Yeah. But if I'm an early riser, so the earlier I start working, the sooner I'm finished.
Absolutely.
What about you? What's your Monday through Friday situation?
Yeah. So the office is open Monday through Friday. Friday, all of the offices are 8 to 2. My day off is Wednesday, so I only work 4 days a week. The perks of dentistry. But the office itself, I think across the board, we're open 7:30 to 6. But it's group practice, so we have staggered shifts. So some people are there early, some people are there late. Monday, Tuesday, I am the late doc, so I'm in 10 to 6. Wednesday, I'm off or in the OR in Cincinnati. And then Thursday, 8 to 4, Friday, 8 to 2.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Did it take you a while to remember what day you're supposed to be where and what time?
Yes, it's nice that it doesn't flip-flop, that I just know Monday, Tuesday are 10 to 6, and then um, the other half of the week is earlier. When I first started, I was at one office Monday, Tuesday, and then a different office Thursday, Friday. So that's how I kept it separate in my brain. Things have shifted a little bit, so it's a little more complicated now, but the plan is come about March, I will just be at the one office working those same hours. The hardest part is we wear different colored scrubs at the different offices, so that's what I have to remember is what color to wear. Only
Oh,
once have I shown up in the wrong color, so not bad.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, what time do you start your day each day? Is it consistent or do you vary, or
I would
meaning
say
like what time you rise?
yeah, what time do I get up?
Uh-huh.
It depends. My goal would be for it to be consistent. The winter, I have been more getting up later on Monday, Tuesday, just because it's cold and dark and I don't want to get out of my bed. But I am usually, I think my alarm goes off about 5:30 or 6 consistently through the week. Wednesdays are hit or miss because if I'm not doing anything, then I'll just get up when I want to get up. Monday, Tuesday, it's nice to be able to get a workout in, or sometimes I'm able to schedule like doctor's appointments and things in the morning before I head into work so that I don't have to use my day off for those things.
So I typically wake up between 5 and 5:30. Most of the time it's 5, or sometimes I'll just lay there and meditate until 5:30. But it's nice to get up and, like you say, get a workout in or read something or meditate before work. And
What
I think
time do you
that's
go to bed?
I try to be in bed by 8:30, 8:45.
Okay. That's the
Yeah.
part that I'm not so good at. I need to go to bed earlier if I'm going to get up that early, but especially when I work later, I feel like I don't have as much downtime to just be awake but do nothing. So I think those nights are harder for me too.
So the only days that it's really harder for me is my chiropractor days,
Okay.
because that's typically on Wednesdays, and it's after I leave work and I have to drive to get there and back. So
Sure.
I get home later. So on those days I try to be in bed by at least 9.
Okay.
But it's like you said, pretty much home, eat, wash, bed,
Yeah.
and then, wake up and do it all over again.
Yeah. So what other things aside from work are you fitting into your week? Obviously, every week's going to look a little different, but for the most part, what's your consistent?
So Tuesdays are therapy days, every other Tuesday, and then every other Wednesday is chiropractor day, and those are after work. I also do, like, I get massages and, like, do red light sauna therapy and just red light therapy, to help with my back. Most of the time, those are Friday days, unless there's a local place that I go to for those things. So unless I need it during the week, and most likely that'll be after hours.
Got it.
But I'll try to be done with that if possible by at least 7, so that I can get home and do what I need to do to start the day. So for me, that's why it's more important that I wake up earlier, so that even if it's just doing yoga to kind of get my body ready for the day, I get the movement out of the way early on, because sometimes my days go late. And then sometimes I'm in part of like local study clubs and dental associations type stuff. So some evenings will go, till about 8 o'clock. So then I got to get home and get ready for bed quick.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, it goes fast. So recently I recently as in literally this past week, but started doing some physical therapy for jaw, neck, head sort of things. So that's now they have really early morning appointments, which I super appreciate, but am shocked for them So they actually start at 6:30. So I've got a 7:30 appointment on Tuesday. So 7:30 to 8:30, and then I'll head into work 10 to 6. That's a regular one. I also tried to do my workouts in the morning. I feel like it's really hard to work out after work and then calm yourself back down to go to sleep, in my opinion. So I tried to do that. Again, I've not been so good at that in the cold and winter. It's really hard for me to get up, and because I had been going to like a workout studio, and it's just hard to convince myself to get out of my warm bed. And then most of my so I do chiropractor about once a month. I try to schedule that on Wednesdays when I'm off. It's the whole thing of everybody works the same hours basically, and that can be really hard to get everything to fit together. It is nice on Fridays being done at 2, so you can sneak in a haircut or things of that nature. But I really take advantage of my Wednesdays, and I'll try to stack like, your PCP appointment or your dermatologist, and like just pick a Wednesday and like, all right, this day is just going to be 75 doctor's appointments. And I'll hate it, but then it'll be over. Then we have a study club that we're a part of once a month. That's Wednesday nights. It's the third Wednesday of the month, and it always falls on my OR day at Cincinnati. So those weeks are chaotic. So I'll work Monday 10 to 6, come home, pack for Cincinnati, because then I'm going to leave Tuesday after work. So I'll work 10 to 6, drive from work straight to Cincinnati. I stay with one of my dental school classmates, which is fun. I get to see her and her family. But usually get there about 8 o'clock, 8:15. We eat dinner, catch up from the month. Then I'm in the OR. I typically get there about 7:30. Do an OR case. I'm in Cincy until about 3:30, and then I drive back to Columbus for study club Wednesday night, which goes till about 9. So those weeks are lots of car time. But
I was going to say, so that gives you lots of time to listen to audiobooks and podcasts and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it sounded like it's no rest. It sounded like these schedules are booked pretty tight. What do you all do a morning huddle at your offices?
So our individual teams do, not the full office, because we have that sort of staggered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does that look like when you say your individual team?
Yeah.
What would a huddle look like, for example?
Yeah. So say we start at 10, we'll all be there by 9:30. Gives me a time to look at the schedule. I'll grab my assistant and my EFTA, and we'll just run through real quick what our schedule, sit there and look at our schedule, what it looks like, any strange things to be aware of or patient preferences to be aware of, make sure our lab cases are there. I try my best, I'm getting better at this, to also look at the hygiene columns and see when I'm going to be needed for checks over there. But that's really, we just get together as a little team. And if there's stuff that I've noticed on the hygiene schedule or other schedules, I'll go check in with that hygienist or whatever. But
cool. So we do our huddle at 7:40 every morning. And we all see our first patients at 8.
Yeah.
8 a.m. And it's pretty much the same, we celebrate wins and huddle and talk about how we did the day before, what we're planning to do today in terms of a production standpoint, areas for opportunity. Like you said, if it's anything on the schedule where we need to talk about with patients or anything like that, we'll discuss that as well.
I'm excited I loved bouncing between the offices, and I'm really going to miss the team at the office I'm no longer going to be at. But I do think it's going to make things a little easier to have that consistency and to look ahead at the week and know what's coming, versus now when I'm bouncing back and forth. So right now I'm only at the one office on Tuesday. And so a lot can change in a week with the schedule. And then you show back up on Tuesday morning, you're like, oh, actually, we're doing this today and not this. And I'm grateful that that doesn't freak me out as much in residency. That probably would have set me over the edge when you're like, I thought I was doing all of these extractions, but that patient came off and now I'm doing endo and I'm going to have a panic attack. But now it's just come what may. Or, oh, that patient scheduled their implant. That's okay. I, already planned that surgery. It's going to be fine. But I feel like in residency, I needed like 2 weeks notice for any big procedure just to get my head around it. And now the schedule changes too much to, not all the time, but I always feel like when I have a big, I don't know why root canals still freak me out, but anytime I have a big endo, I'll like panic about it for 2 weeks. And the next thing I know, the patient's moved the appointment. I'm like, I just wasted so much energy and time.
What advice would you have for any of our listeners out there in terms of schedule and, just making time for the things that are important, building it around their work schedule?
Oof. I don't know that I've figured that out. I am a planner girl. I love my planner. So I could not keep my life together without it. I think knowing that it's okay for it to change and look different in different seasons is something that has taken me a while to get used to, and give myself grace of, oh, in the winter, I don't feel like working out as intense as maybe I do in the summer, and just being okay with that flexibility and trying to actually block out time for things and know that it's not just going to come to you spontaneously. You're not just going to wake up naturally at 5 a.m. and be like, I'm going to go do yoga. You need to, at least I'm not that type of person. So set your clothes out the night before, try to find the time for that. Yeah. What about you? How, obviously, this has probably changed in various seasons for you.
Mm-hmm. Even when I was an associate, I would try to plan my week on Sundays. So
Yeah.
I like to meal prep. And I get tired of the same thing, so I have to like do a few different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, have my clothes out the night before, or if I know that I have a meeting after work, or I know I have some sort of appointment after work, have change of clothes ready to the
Yep.
night before. And you said it, like, I know if I don't get myself up, whether I'm kicking and screaming or not at 5 a.m., then it's going to impact the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But also, like, there are times where, like, if I have a really intense adjustment at the chiropractor, I'm going to give my body and everything grace and get up later.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's a day that, even though I shouldn't, I might skip getting up and working out or doing yoga. But yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think meal prep is a big light bulb for me. Finding there are a lot of like sneaky ways to get your time back, and finding those ways that work for you. Meal prep is a big one for me. Adam hated it for the longest time. I mean, that's how I survived dental school, right? And Adam hated it. He's like, there's so many dishes. And I'm like, yeah, but we do all the dishes on Sunday. And it sucks that every pot and pan we own is in the dishwasher, but then it's over.
Right.
And so he has eventually come around to my decision there. Or other things like I'll sit and dread like cleaning the bathroom or whatever, but it really doesn't take as much time as you think. And if you just get up and
start doing it, before you know it, you're almost finished.
Yeah.
Most days.
Yeah. Throw on a podcast and run around.
That's what I do. If it's not a podcast, it's an audiobook. And before you know it, when you're multitasking like that, you're finished.
Yeah. I think the other thing, as much as we talked about finding time for all the things you need to do for yourself, is being really intentional about the time with your people. So no matter how much we're running around, we try to sit down and eat dinner together, even if it's in front of the TV, which isn't great, but we spend some time together. And I think the cats have made us have to slow down, and if we don't take 10 minutes to play with them, they're going to scream at us. So it gets me off my phone and those sorts of things too, which is nice.
Oh, yeah. And then it's nice. Technology is nice too, because my phone will let me know, okay, it's time to wind down.
Yeah.
And by that point, I want to have done everything I need to do for self-care. If it's reading a book or taking a bath and making it like a spa or something like that. But I agree. Just ending the stress cycle every day that we talked about is super important. And a lot of times giving back to yourself and spending times with your people helps to renew you to get a good night rest to be able to do it all over again tomorrow.
I would love for people to share what their schedules look like, especially I know there are after work workout people, and I am not one of you, but I always find that fascinating. So let us know what that looks like and how you sort of wind things down after that. And let us know what your office hours are. I'm always curious to hear the different schedules that people have and how they work their patients into their schedule. So let us know. You can find me at Savanah Craig DDS on Instagram.
And you can find me at Dr._Sartor on Instagram as well.
We will catch you back here next time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond Graduation. If you enjoyed this week's episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Connect with us on social media at Savanah Craig DDS and at Dr._Sartor. And remember, you are not alone on this journey.
Thank you for listening to Beyond Graduation, brought to you by Ignite DDS and Future Dentists. This episode was sponsored by Ignite DDS Coaching. We build self-determined futures. For more information, please reach out to the Ignite DDS team.